There's someone who cannot stop thinking about you right now. This person feels like they've been searching their entire life for someone exactly like you, and now that you've appeared, they're convinced the universe has finally answered their prayers. They look at you and see everything they've been trying to manifest, everything they held out for when others told them they were being too picky, too selective, too demanding. While friends and family pressured them to lower their standards and settle for someone decent enough, they refused. They stayed single rather than compromise on what they knew they deserved. And now you've walked into their life, proving they were right all along. This person had almost given up hope that someone like you actually existed outside of their imagination. They were beginning to wonder if their vision of the perfect partner was just a fantasy they needed to let go of. There were moments they considered settling, moments they thought maybe everyone else was right and they were asking for too much. But something inside them kept saying to wait, to trust, to hold space for the right person. Then you appeared, and suddenly everything made sense. Every disappointment they endured, every relationship that didn't work out, every lonely night wondering if they'd ever find their person, it all led them to this moment with you. They're breathing a sigh of relief because they didn't settle for almost right or good enough. They waited for you, and now they're discovering that everything they hoped for in a partner is standing right in front of them. What's up, guys? Welcome to Twinflame Tarot Psychic. My name is Leo. Let's go deeper into today's reading. This person feels that you've stepped out of the pages of a magazine and into their life, or you've stepped out of their dreams and into reality. You are the type of person they have been trying to manifest for quite some time with no success. You have renewed their belief that they can get what they want in this lifetime. They don't need to settle for less. Their standards aren't too high. They're not being too picky or too selective. This person could have been holding out on getting into a relationship until it felt just right within. They could have been choosing to be single rather than settling for less than what they know they deserve and less than what they know they want. This might have led to a lot of pushback from friends and family. People could have been giving them a hard time, telling them that if they don't just find someone, they're going to end up alone. If they keep their standards high, that's going to be increasingly unreasonable. And the pool of candidates they'll have to choose from is going to become smaller and smaller as time goes on. People might have even assumed that this person is going to stay single forever because nobody ever seems to make the cut. Nobody ever seems to be good enough. They never bring anyone home to meet the family or talk about anyone special. This could have led to a lot of frustration within this person, where it feels like they were almost on the brink of thinking they're just going to have to lower those standards. They were starting to believe that what they're seeking is very unreasonable. Then all of a sudden you came along and they're breathing a sigh of relief. Thank goodness they didn't settle for that person they were dealing with before, who was almost right, sort of fine, but not exactly the full package. That person didn't really make them feel like everything was aligned inside. There were obvious discrepancies between them that would have always had them investing energy into making the relationship work, trying to look the other way, trying to ignore aspects that didn't totally align. Now you've come into the picture, and there's a lot of gratitude at the stars aligning for the two of you to match up with one another, to be able to meet each other where you are at this point in your lives and explore that forward potential. A lot of these qualities that you bring to the table are really helping this person to celebrate themselves. They're thinking that they had their standards high for a reason. They knew what they wanted to manifest. This person could have been studying law of attraction, really seeking to align with that feeling of wish fulfillment, in addition to a list of qualities, things they were attracted to, things they wanted to try out and experiment with to get different results from disappointments in the past. This formula that they've applied to dating or romance or their love life has all panned out with you in a way that is making them feel like they knew they were following their instinct in a particular direction for a reason. This person may be getting very excited about where this connection is headed. It feels like it's getting very hard for them to hold back their truth in terms of holding some feelings back from you. They're thinking they need to just take this one step at a time before opening up on an emotional level, but they're becoming more and more comfortable that it will be an inevitability sooner rather than later. For some people, this is almost like trying to withhold that information from friends or family. They've met someone. They think they're really hitting it off with them. They think this is the one. They think this is headed in a good direction. They want to make sure they're not diving in head first or getting ahead of themselves in any way. But where this series of interactions between the two of you is headed, what they're feeling inside, what they are showing to you, and the way in which you're responding to that and giving back to them as well. This is helping them to feel like they've made the right decision here. They had the right standards. They had the right formula. They were patient with this process. They didn't just settle for the first thing that came along or second-guess themselves or doubt themselves or allow others to put pressure or peer pressure on them to lower those standards just to fill a space of loneliness, just to fill a void next to them. There's a sense that they have held out for a while or for something very specific, and now you've come into their life and they're thinking that you were the one they were holding out for. They knew that these qualities could exist within a person, but they were on the fence. They were in doubt, wondering if this is really real or just a product of their imagination. Is this something that can actually work out for them in this lifetime? Can they actually get what they want in this lifetime? All the signs are pointing to yes. All their experiences with you are pointing to this being the right choice, the right connection. The time is right for the two of you. We also have true love. It feels like this is a person who is looking to date, to marry. If you haven't had that conversation with one another yet, they're getting more comfortable with showing you what that means. If you haven't touched on that yet, maybe because you might have met this person in the last place you would have expected to find romance. You're coming around to that topic of emotions in a different direction. This is something where they're thinking they like you. They like what you're experiencing. You're getting to know one another. It might be platonic at this point, but there's a sense of when they open up about those feelings again, it's going to be sooner rather than later. They know a lot of you are wondering when love is coming. You're impatient. You're ready to go. You're ready for something serious. It feels like this person is also ready for something serious. They're just needing to take it step by step with you, one day at a time, but everything within them is thinking this is the right direction. This feels increasingly like the right person to be able to get what they're looking for out of romance. To be able to fulfill your romantic needs as well. Anything you've hinted at or expressed to one another, they're feeling that is really aligned, that this is not a circumstance where you're just going to be wasting one another's time or you're not looking for the same thing. This is someone looking for long-term commitment. They're looking for something serious. They're looking for quality rather than quantity. The qualities that you are bringing to the table or that they are discovering about you through your experiences with one another is making them feel like this was the right decision to approach you. It was the right decision to open up in the ways that they have. It was the right decision to maybe hold space for you to open up. Or maybe you're the person that approached them and they were receptive, and they're thinking that was the right decision. Whatever those circumstances are, however those details align with you, this is somebody that is looking at this as they enjoy the experience with you and the idea of emotions deepening or seeing themselves falling in love with this person. This is not something that is scary. This is not something that is sending up a lot of alarm bells or serving as a red flag for them. Instead, this is something where they can see that happening. They can see this connection continuing to align in those deeper ways to where that's almost inevitable. Or for some, they're praying, they're hoping that things will lead to that you're going to feel the same way and that you'll continue to progress with one another in that direction. We also have spiritual connection. Again, another confirmation of somebody that's not just looking for a hookup, somebody that's not just looking for a temporary situation. It feels like this person is very direct. They're very down to business. They're thinking you need to take time to get to know one another, but they don't have all day. They're not going to sit here and have years go by and then think they're comfortable to start talking about emotions. This is somebody that feels like they like the pace that you have going with one another. They like the way in which you both in your own ways have been vulnerable with one another. You've been trusting this process. You've been honoring your own intuitions, your own personal sensibilities, not overgiving to this connection. You're not being very picky or demanding of one another, kind of respecting one another's boundaries and the limits of where you're at. But then there's also the energy of coaxing one another beyond that threshold, each in your own way. This is something this person almost feels like beyond your direct interactions with one another. There's almost a language that is occurring between your souls, a sense of reaching this certain threshold and being in unison in terms of expanding this to the next level, taking the conversation in a new direction, expressing some greater degree of vulnerability with one another. They almost feel like the idea of partnering up with you or things becoming more serious wouldn't even just be pleasing or satisfying in a mundane sense. But there are these subtle or energetic cues within them that indicate this is a good decision. This is in the right direction. They feel very comfortable with the prospect of that. It feels very aligned with something that will be satisfying in a long-term sense. It feels like this person also really respects your value system or your perspective on the world. The way in which you're not just approaching them but also approaching other interpersonal relationships. Maybe things that you've talked about, where you've had to set boundaries with people or people that you talk about, and the way in which you express details or emotion about things, and people that you care about, that you love. All of this is helping them to get a glimpse at more of these subtle qualities beyond the surface, who you are as a person, who you are on those deeper layers. There's a sense of thinking they really align in that sense. They see that your lives could really align. You could really add something to the measure of the value of one another's existence, rather than just having this exclusively as a connection that is sexually gratifying or very pleasing or affirming for the ego. Those qualities are here. This person finds you to be really sexy, really attractive. On paper, it all adds up. It all matches with the criteria that they're looking for. But there's also something in terms of the subtle sense within of just even if there's a lot of unknowns in this circumstance. It's a good curiosity that is coaxing them to that point of wanting to explore this more and feeling like this is the type of connection or you're the person that they've been trying to align with. We also have be in the present and dream of the future. This person is definitely thinking about what happens next in the situation. Even if it's early in your connection, even if you're still getting to know one another or there's other challenges as far as communication is concerned. Maybe it's the way in which you met this person where it's not like you went on a dating site or where they asked you out very directly, but it's kind of like this could be a friendship where feelings are starting to develop. You've got that connection where you've got this platonic bond with one another, but now how do you get into that territory of discussing matters of the heart? If that's the case, this is somebody it feels like that wants to spend more time with you in the present. They want to hang out with you more. They want to talk to you more. They want the conversations to be longer, to go into more in-depth topics. All of this is a way to kind of lean into that deeper experience with one another, where then it's almost like inevitable that feelings will be talked about. Not just crushing on you immediately in the moment, but really liking you as a person. Really liking the experience of having you in their life and trusting in that enough and feeling that is aligned enough that if you are to take a chance and explore romance or dive into that deeper territory of emotional vulnerability, this is something that would work out for both of you. That this wouldn't be something that you would regret. They're trusting in the foundation between the two of you that you have already or that you're building with one another to be solid enough that even if you haven't talked at all about feelings, or this is again just a friendship at this point, there's a sense of even if you step into that territory and it turns out that you don't work or you don't align, which for most of you they're thinking that would align, that's just the next inevitable step between the two of you. Who's going to speak on this first? Who's going to say something first? But there's also a sense of kind of like if you find out that you're better off as friends, they trust that you can just retreat back into that nature of your interactions and everything will be good. The friendship even would be stronger for that. But instead of thinking about taking steps back, this person is thinking about taking leaps forward, about what happens next. They want to get to know you more. They want to get to know you deeper. They want you to see other sides of them as well. We have love makes the difference. It feels like you are bringing a lot of qualities to the table that they've never encountered in a romantic partner before. Maybe this is somebody that has never dated someone that they've had a friendship with. They've never done the friends first and then to lovers. For others of you, this is something where if this has just been pure romance, the connection has been approached from that angle. Or for some of you, this is like a situationship. So it's just been a sexual connection. It's maybe been hooking up and then they caught feelings and they're not running from those feelings. There's a sense of this is different than what they expected. It's different from anything that they've known. But it's a good different. It's feeling right because they don't feel the need to recoil. They don't feel the need to put up their boundaries. They don't feel the need to vet the situation out anymore. They don't feel the need to check in with their logic. Their energy is saying yes. They're very magnetized towards you. You are giving them a different sort of experience, or remarkably not bringing up the usual fears or the usual hesitations or the usual need to control the outcome. You're just vibing with one another on this deeper level. That's very different for them. That is a green flag. It's a green light in and of itself that's kind of like this is what they were looking for. This is what they were hoping to find. This is what they were trying to manifest. This is what they were patient for. We also have spent quality time together. This is definitely somebody that wants to get to know you more. They want to have different sorts of experiences than you've had up to this point in time. If it's just been a talking stage where there's long distance between you, this is somebody that wants to meet up. They want to go do activities. They may even want some of you to meet their friends, possibly even meet their family. Although it feels like it's kind of a situation where it might be early to meet family unless they've got a family member that's sort of like a best friend too. Then it might be like, come meet my brother because he's my bro and he's my relative. That kind of a thing. But it's something to where they're wanting to have more time with you. They don't really necessarily need time to think about things. This is not somebody that necessarily wants to keep their options open or spread their time amongst many different people. But there's a sense of they like what you have with one another. They like the momentum that has been established. They like the way you make them feel inside. They like the way that they're able to make you very joyous, able to bring out a side of you that maybe you've shared that you don't really share this with people. Or you're not usually this way, that can be a quirky part of you. Or maybe a romantic part of you. Maybe this person brings out your soft side and you're not having to be in the lead in this situation. Whatever that is, this person is thinking there's some sort of chemical reaction between the two of you energetically speaking. That's bringing out new and exciting sides of you, the best parts of you. They're curious about what the future holds. They're wanting to explore this further. They're wanting to get other eyes on this to get that sense of reassurance or reinforcement that this was the right decision. Or even for some, this is something where they're wanting to tell someone, see, they were good to keep their standards high because look, they were able to magnetize in what they wanted through this formula, through this discernment, through this aspect of not just settling for whatever comes along or the first thing out of the gate, but making sure that it feels right, making sure that it is that dream person come to life. They believe that person is out there. They're holding out for that. Now you've turned up in their life. This is a very affirming experience for this person. We also have like attracts, like even if you guys are the yin to one another's yang, you're like opposites. This person feels like you fit together like two peas in a pod. If you have had physical contact with this person, they feel like your bodies just fit together. Maybe you hug and it's like you were meant to stand here. Your bodies fit very well together. If you've kissed, it's kind of like this is the kiss that no kiss compares to. Or you've held hands and it's like your hands fit so well together. Even eye contact, it feels like it's almost like a bridge between worlds that was just waiting for the two of you to come into contact with one another. This is the way that intimacy is supposed to feel beyond the spoken word, in a way that's not making you both uncomfortable but just kind of is that gateway to eternity. If you haven't had physical encounters with one another, then there's a sense of feeling that you're very aligned even in ways that you can agree to disagree. There's a sense of not feeling triggered or oppositional to qualities you're bringing to the table. Opinions that you have, goals and dreams, or just the way that you live your life that might be different from theirs. They see that you are very complementary to one another. It works. They're excited about what a long-term relationship with someone like you would be like. What would it be like to start a family with someone like you? What would it be like to grow old with somebody like you? It's almost like you challenge this person and also really encourage them to not cut any corners with themselves, to be very honest with themselves, very self-loving, very self-accepting. You've shown them a side of partnership or the potential of partnership between two people that brings together these aspects where you compensate for one another's strengths and deficits in a beautiful way. It's like a beautiful dance between the two of you where you're taking turns leading and following so far in your interactions with one another. And they feel that is a really good fit. That's what they are looking for. We have actions speak louder than words. This person really respects the fact that if you've set certain boundaries, it's not just been as a way to test them. You know yourself, you love yourself first and foremost. And from that place, all other love and relationships flow. Not in a way that is self-centered or egotistical, but they see you as someone with high standards where you needed to raise those standards in the aftermath of experiences or chapters in your life where you didn't have that, where you put others' emotional needs before your own. The ways in which you've even set a boundary with this person that has required them to maintain their own autonomy or really rise to certain challenges that the connection so far has presented, or that are just part of the nature of your experience with one another. All of this is something which is incentivizing this person to want to work harder to be a part of your life, to prioritize the time you spend with one another, to cherish and make the most of those moments that you have with one another, not take those for granted. This is somebody that wants to make sure that your emotional needs are being fulfilled because they feel very fulfilled by you already. This is somebody that it feels like they want to give more than they're taking into this situation because they see that you are someone who can appreciate that. You've appreciated their actions so far. You've respected their boundaries, or just the limits of where you're at with one another at this point in the connection. This person might be used to dealing with people in the past that were very pestery, asking where is it going, where is it headed really early on in the interactions. Asking what do you want out of this situation, what are your intentions, and you've only been talking for a week. Something like that where other people tried to move too quickly or didn't really trust in the process that was happening, or communication was just off, or people weren't really wanting the same things as them. But with you there's a sense of all of it flowing differently. It flows naturally. Even if there are these points where you're having disagreements or there's some degree of holding back, it's almost like it's a point of self-reflection. It's not something where this person feels rejected by you or a need to chase, but you're able to ebb and flow with one another in a way that feels very healthy, very different from anything that they've known before. And it's making them very excited to explore this more or get to know you more because it feels like this is a good investment for the two of you. We also have turn your heart light on. You really do turn this person on in a lot of ways. You are very physically pleasing. You're very sensually pleasing. You're very emotionally pleasing. You're intellectually pleasing. Even the mystery and the potential of what else is in store in this situation. What are new experiences that you can have? All of that is something which doesn't fill them with a sense of uncertainty like they have to plan. They have to make sure that they're prepared for anything, or that they've got their guard up just in case they get hurt, or they're not looking back at past heartbreaks or lessons that they've experienced thinking. They have to be on the lookout for these things because they don't want to make those same mistakes. They're trusting in this process with you in a way that might be kind of surprising for them. This person could be kind of cynical, kind of jaded about love, or they had been when they encountered you. Maybe even just because it was so hard for them to connect with someone on a deeper level that they were getting kind of frustrated, thinking they don't know, they've got this dream vision of what connection will be like. They're trying to manifest a very specific kind of person, and they're just not finding them. You've come in right at the nick of time, right at the moment when they needed that reassurance. They needed that affirmation from the universe, that they set their sights in a particular direction and it was good. It has worked out. This is somebody that is opening up in the heart space. This is somebody that is trusting in the building emotions that they have, the building momentum between the two of you. You really light this person up inside and it feels like they want to find new ways to give you reassurances, spend more time with you and be very excited about what the future holds. Those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.